Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And a couple of Halloween cards using some of the just released Waffle Flower September release. This is also part of a blog hop, so I will have that info in my blog post directly below the video. A lot of people asking me where to find things. Description box below the videos is definitely the place to start. You can expand it if you're watching on a desktop or a laptop. You just click where it says it'll under the video and it's like more ... Click that, it expands. All the info's there. Links to the blog post, the supplies, all of it. And then if you're on mobile, it's right below the right hand, which for you guys I think will be right below here. There'll be a little down arrow, and if you click that, if you're on like a mobile or a tablet, same thing. It'll expand the description box, and then you can find all the stuff I provide. So I provide a link to the blog post, supply list, links to everything. All my affiliate links are to the supplies, etc., and links to my social media, etc. So hopefully that explains it. And yeah, I had loads of fun making these cards. The googly eyes made an appearance, and splatter, and an action wobble, and glitter paper, and one thing led into another. It was loads of fun. So I'll show you guys how I made them. And at the end of the video, I will post a link to my playlist that has all of my videos so far for this year's Halloween card series. So you can check that out at the very end if you're interested. And yeah, let's get into making these cards. So I'm using the Waffle Flower Big Bear and Bird Boo stamp set. It's just this little mini set that's super cute. I think this set was released sometime in the past, and they've re-released it, from what I understand, with a new coordinating die set. So if you've got the original stamp set, you could get the new die set because it's got coordinating dies plus a big circle die that I use for the moon. And super cute. I love the Big Bear and Bird line from Waffle Flower. They're just so cute. Anyway, this is just a great little mini set. And so I put a piece of Simon Says Stamps smooth white cardstock into my MISTI, and I lined up the stamps and stamped them with Simon's Intense Black ink, and then just flip the cardstock around and stamp them again, because why not do two, especially when there's not that many images to color, etc. So for my coloring, I'm using my Copic Markers, and right now this is just real time. I'm going to speed this up quite a bit, but again, it didn't take very long to color these because they're just pretty simple. And I do my typical go-to working darkest to lightest, because over the years this has just become the way I prefer coloring with alcohol markers, and mostly because it's faster. So yeah, colored my bear, typical browns. This has been my brown combo for, goodness, 15 years? I'm not even sure. It's been a long time. But yeah, E20, 29, 27, and 25. Just my basic brown combo. So colored the bear, and then I used a couple different shades of brown for this little broomstick. I don't know why, like, the broomstick kind of looks like it's like broken with this big old bear sitting on it. I don't know. I love these images. I love the little like shaky lines and things that are scribbled around it as well. Like, it's just the detail, all of it. Chef's kiss, perfection. So gave different shades of brown to the little broomstick, and then colored in, of course, the broom. And then we get into the actual like little Halloween colors. So I colored this is a little trick or treat bag. That's what this is. It's a pumpkin shaped trick or treat bag, because he's going trick or treating. You know, you gotta make a story for all these little guys. So colored him in oranges. His hat I did in greens and grays. Again, like, oh, they're so cute. And then for the little bats and the little spiders, I went with just the cool grays, just slight, shade darker. And before anyone comes at me over the spiders not having enough legs, again, they're stamped images. It's art. And maybe he's hiding his extra legs. you know, it's been a lot lately with people going after me for like things not being like correct as they are in nature and the wrong colors and yada, yada, yada. Honest, it's fun. It's cards. It's crafting, all the things. You do whatever you want to do. And if certain things really bother you, you can draw in extra little pairs of legs or do them whatever colors you want, you know, it's fun. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So for the little ghosties, I used just some pale blue-green colors. And then, of course, like filled in their little cheeks with blush. And once I did that, I took my white gel pen and, like always, not following any light sources really at all. Just I added little dots, little highlights, wherever. You know, wherever they just land. That's pretty much it. So stuck all those little things in. Again, Jelly Roll 10 gel pen. Like everything, I have links in the supplies. This is my favorite gel pen. The other note, if you struggle with your gel pen, you need to use them somewhat consistently. Like I don't use mine every single day. Sometimes it'll be a couple weeks before using it, but you need to use them consistently. If it sits for months on end, the gel pens, they start to dry out in the ball tip. You can sometimes get them reactivated by warming them up in your hands. And I will literally scribble like on the palms of my hands, my fingers, etc. Sometimes that works, you know, scribbling on scrap paper, but especially on the hands because it's like the warmth will kind of reactivate it. But the biggest tip of advice is just keep one gel pen, like white gel pen, and use it consistently. And I haven't had a problem with my white gel pen, like, ever. So, anywho, I use the circle die that comes in the die set. I die cut everything with coordinating wafer dies. Use the circle die cut it from scraps of white cardstock. And then I wanted to make it look more like a moon. So I used one of my Tim Holtz moon mask stencils. And the medium-sized one is like slightly too big than the die cut, but that's fine. I just lined it up, stuck it onto my waffle grip, my big waffle grip mat. So that's holding the cardstock and the stencil in place. And then I'm using pumice stone oxide ink and one of my paper pouncers to just pounce that over the stencil so it immediately makes it look like the moon. Love. And then after I removed the stencil, I just used whatever ink was kind of left on the pouncer and very light pressure and just lightly went around both of these die cuts. It's subtle, but you can tell when I assemble the cards because the card bases and everything are going to be like the same white cardstock. This just tints it a little bit. You know, it just gets that little extra bit of ink on there and just kind of finishes it off. So I set those aside. And then I used one of the Waffle Flower nesting rounded rectangles wafer dies. And I die cut some soft navy cardstock with that. And then I used just the little boo sentiment in the stamp set. So I used my anti-static powder tool. I stamped the sentiment with white pigment ink. Coated it with detail white embossing powder. Going to melt that with my heat tool. And then once that's melted, I am going to wipe away the excess anti-static powder. And then I'm going to put these back onto that grip mat. And I'm going to use the Waffle Flower Cloudy stencil set or stencil. It's kind of a set, I guess, because there's also the little cloud portions that you can pop out in the center there and use them as stencils and as masks. But I was just using the edges. And I was lining those up like across these backgrounds and then using that same white pigment ink with my little white paper pouncer and popping that all over these little backgrounds to create just a little bit of that cloudy background sort of look. So again, just light pressure with that because I don't need to apply, you know, heavy layers of ink. And once I get all of this in place, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking splatter all the things. So applied that and also did the little bottom there, just kind of avoiding the sentiment so I don't like cover it with the white pigment ink. And then my little card fronts here are just, again, white cardstock. And I stamped the little web stamp from the set with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink onto these backgrounds. And then I'm going to pop these into my splat box and I am going to splatter these backgrounds with black soot distress paint. So shake that up really well, put a bit of it on my palette, get my little fan brush and splatter the backgrounds because that's just what you got to do. Them's the rules. So splattered that, set those aside, put those little cloudy backgrounds in, and then my other like current favorite, this is going to stay a favorite. I think I've mentioned this. I bought backups of this. This is the Unraveled Distress Mica Stain. This is part of the Tim Holtz Halloween release, the newest one of the Mica Stain sprays, and this Unraveled. Oh, I love it so much. There's that yellow one. Is it Crooked Broomstick? I forget what it's called. That one's also really nice too. It's obviously much more like bright yellow, but I used to use that for splatter and night skies and everything too. But Unraveled, love it. Anyway, did the same thing. Splattered those onto those backgrounds, and then I pulled out a very oldie but goodie favorite, some black and white striped pattern paper. Haven't used this in a while, and then I was like, oh, I remember how much I used to use this stuff, to the point where everyone just was expecting it. So I just grabbed a scrap, cut it in half, and then I also trimmed down a couple little just strips of some gold glitter paper as well. And I adhered the little cloudy backgrounds to my card front with some of Simon's Big Mama foam tape, and those that have watched my recent videos and laughed at me, and I deserved it because it was funny. When I talked about like losing my roll of, I didn't lose it. I just couldn't see it in front of my face. Didn't do that this time. I learned my lesson, you know. I know where it is until next time, and I'll probably do it again, just like I do with like my phone, you know, when you're on your phone and then you're looking for your phone while you're on it, or your glasses that are on top, you know, all the things. Anyway, adhered the strips of a little bit of pattern paper and the glitter paper, and then the little moons I also adhered with the Big Mama foam tape just to pop them up a little bit. And then my little bear had to get popped on with an action wobble because that, again, it's just a rule. He was just too cute not to. And just, again, with the little wavy lines on him and everything, I was like, he was just built for this. Like, he was made for this. So I popped that onto both of these and then popped those onto the cards. And then the other little elements, I adhered with Craft Tacky glue, foam squares, different things, like some of them were popped up. The little spider I adhered with just Craft Tacky glue to give little bits of extra, you know, dimension and things. And then I couldn't resist also pulling out my little tiny googly eyes to add to the little spider and the little bat. You could totally skip it because they're just the way they are as stamps. They're super cute. Like, their eyes are just naturally goofy on the stamp, and I love it. But could I resist the googly eyes? Obviously not, because, you know, I just had to do it. So little dots of glue, stuck those into place, and love it. I just love it, you know? So once I got those adhered, for my card bases, they're going to be top folding A2 white note cards. And I'm just going to stamp several of the images. I'm going to stamp the bear on his broomstick. I stamped with Simon's Flannel Positively Saturated ink, just light gray ink. The ghost I stamped with Concord & Ninth's Sea Glass ink, which dries back a little bit. It kind of stamped pretty intense, but it dries back a bit. And then I'll stamp the webs with that VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. And like I always say, whatever I put on the inside of cards, I do this with the intention of writing right over it. Obviously the black webs I'm not going to write over, but the images, I'll write right over them. I don't care. The insides are just extra. And yeah. So stamped all that. And then I adhered the card fronts to the card bases. And then I couldn't resist adding a little extra bling. These are some Trinity Stamps gold star embellishments. So I just kind of went around adding little dabs of glue and gluing these little stars into place here and there. And yeah, once I kind of figured it out on the first card front, then I just follow the same layout on the second one. Just simple, you know, less having to think. Because yeah, I know sometimes my voiceovers are a little bit nuts and I can't remember certain words, and I appreciate you guys when you're like, oh, you're looking for this word or whatever. Yeah, it's because usually I'm doing, like right now, I'm doing these voiceovers in like the middle of the night. And so my brain is like, no. Anyway, that finished the cards. I tried to show the shimmer on the background from that mica stain that I splattered with my phone. It's hard when it's like such fine splatter like that, but you can kind of catch it. But in real life, it's like sparkly. It's so sparkly. I love it. So yeah, there's like sparkle and shimmer and googly eyes and action bubbles and super cute little guys. This was such a fun set to play with. I loved it. And like I mentioned in the intro, I will have all the info in the description box below the video, and definitely worth checking out my blog post, because yeah, I'll have links to all the other fabulous makers. There's tons of inspiration. There's a bunch of Christmas inspiration. Of course I went with Halloween, but there's a bunch of Christmas stuff in this release too, which is fabulous, and I will get to that soon. But yeah, all that info will be below. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I'll have a link to that playlist at the end here. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.